Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coaching Ender, the amazing series about coaching Ender to do forwardy things. So we're going to continue to focus on the offensive stuff because I think that defensively you're fine, and I'm not concerned about that, as I've said in the past. But I think this time I'm going to look at a lot of stuff that like all three of the forwards are doing. So obviously this was a tough game against some zero pingers. Was me at left wing, Ender at center, and Patrick on the right wing. So I'm going to look at things that all three of us did and whether or not they were like good or bad, and try to just use all of that as examples of what could be improved on. Because I think that there's, obviously examples that we can point to and things to be learned from what everybody's doing, not just necessarily what you're doing or what you're doing right or wrong or whatever, but obviously I'll be focusing on that stuff as well. Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to get into it here, but we're going to see how long this goes and how much I think that there is to say about this game. We might look at some other games. Obviously, you recorded a lot, so there's a large sample size to pick from. But yeah, we'll see how long it goes, and might look at some other games. But yeah, we'll see. So I'll just get right into it. Okay, so actually, I was looking at this right off the bat. Here's something I want to talk about here. You tie up, I pick up the puck. You kind of cut over here, which is good. It opens up the middle for me to go here, and Patrick's going to come over to the right. But essentially, what I'm going to do here is like just hang on to it, find a way into the zone. I'm going to hang on to it here. I kind of make a move to get around this guy, and now all of a sudden, there's all kinds of room over here. Patrick is wide open, so I'm pretty sure I'm eventually going to get it to him. But also, good play by him and both of you, really, where just you kind of recognize like what I'm doing, that I'm taking it slow, and now I'm around this guy, so I have room to just walk it in. Patrick probably thought I was going to pass it right here, and maybe probably should have, honestly. Didn't ultimately, but it was fine. He recognized that I carried it, and he held the line. Both of you held the line, so that's good, and then I end up giving it to him. That's something that, in general, I mean, obviously that's like a real hockey thing where you just if you kind of like can, when you're coming up the wing, you kind of get shut down a lot as guys will kind of come over here and force you into the wall where they can just kind of take away all your options and give you no room. So then kind of what you can do sometimes, throw it back into the middle. And obviously what happened here is I came right on the middle. But then when you cross the line, if you cross the line from the middle, generally the entire team is going to kind of converge into the middle to try and protect the middle of the ice. Because otherwise you can just skate right through. So they're going to try and converge on you, so you have to have your wingers supporting quickly, which is why it's crucial to, obviously, first and foremost, hold the line so that you can get in on side. But then after you do that, they need to make sure that they are staying up with the play quickly. Because, say, if Patrick isn't here, if he really got thrown off by my move and he had to like swerve or stop, and lose all his momentum to hold the line, I can come in here and maybe he's not quite in as good a position to support me from the middle. So he might end up, over here right along the line with no momentum, and then I kind of pitch the puck over here and he has to skate into it, which can still work. He has enough space here that it probably would have worked anyway. But it's ideal to kind of be like in a position where you're ready to support. You're kind of, I talk about this a lot, but like just reading the game and recognizing what's going to happen before it happens, where he reads the play well here, and because of that, he's able to cross the line at the same time as I do, so he's in a great position to support me as I cross the line, and they kind of converge on me in the middle. And so because of that, now he's going to get the puck, and he has all this space to work with. But this is just kind of an example why I want to point out that it's so important, because, I mean, like, you over here, you're fine here. Obviously, like, I'm not going to be able to get the puck to you anyway, but it's just important to, like, be able to cross the line at the right time. Read the play ahead of time, know when that puck's going to cross the line. And, I've said this before, obviously, but, like, as the forwards, I generally feel that if you are the forwards not carrying the puck at the blue line, it's your job to stay on and let the guy with the puck cross the line or make a pass or whatever he's going to do, so that he can get in on side. And obviously both of you do that here, so that was good. But it's also important just kind of, read the play ahead of time and know when the puck's going to cross the line so that you can cross at the opportune moment so that he, contrast rather, him with you. You're kind of still on the line, so you're on side, but he's a little bit further, so he's in a good position to support here. Obviously, not that it really mattered because all these guys were here. There was no way I was going to be able to pass it to you, but, just something to think about where, it really is important, especially like as you go and play, higher tier teams and whatnot. It's going to be hard to get the zone. And so you have to recognize there are going to be points later in the video that I'm going to talk about. I already have a play in mind, the one I was talking about earlier, in fact. But yeah, it's getting through the neutral zone is a huge thing. And it's going to be really hard to do that against good teams because they're always just going to trap. Like literally 5-man, blue line trap kind of deal. So you have to be able to get through, and a lot of that is reading the game, being able to stay on side, making good cuts, and having confidence holding the puck. You need to be able to carry the puck and not just panic and throw it away right away. But yeah, I think that's enough out of this play 30 seconds into the game. So we can move on. But definitely some things to keep in mind is gaining the neutral zone is very difficult against tough teams, but it's incredibly important to be able to do it. And just kind of real quick here, we are going to see another example of the neutral zone thing again. Here, I see that guy goes for a hit. I'm going to stop it there. Really need a better way to look at these replays than Twitch because this is pretty brutal. But yeah, so I noticed the guy steps up. I'm already looking at when you get the puck here. I'm seeing, you could get it to Patrick. You could skate it up a little bit, but this guy's here pressuring you. He's also here in the lane kind of to Patrick, and we know he has 0 ping, so even if he's looking the wrong way and not quite in the lane properly, he'll still probably pick it up because that's just the way the game works, because it's a crappy game. But, so Patrick's a little pressured because of this guy, and, you're carrying here. He's also pressuring you a little bit. I'm the one with the most room, so I'm already thinking, okay, you're probably giving the puck to me. And then you give the puck to me. This guy immediately makes a cut toward me. I probably could have tried just to self-sauce and speed burst around this guy because that was kind of not a great time to... Basically, he was a little late on this, actually. If he was a little earlier in committing to this hit, he could have gotten me. And he would have hit me and taken me out of the play. What I would have done in that case, if I knew I couldn't get around this guy, was just pass it right back to you, and you would have had all this room ahead of you. But then it would have only been a 2-on-2. But because he was a little late going for that hit, I was able to step around him and turn it into a 3-on-2. But just again, another example of getting through the neutral zone here. I'm not this guy commits to me, and I see that as an opportunity. I don't panic. I'm just going to try to carry it around him. Kind of now that I'm looking at it, maybe cutting into the middle was a little bit questionable. At the time, I was fairly confident in it, but looking at this, it doesn't really look like it's going to work here. It does end up working, but I think probably I could have just speed bursted around the outside. But either way, able to carry the puck in, and now we have a 3-on-2. So that's just another example of, gaining the neutral zone, gaining the zone, and just having some confidence with the puck, not panicking, not be worried about losing it or whatever. Because, worst case scenario, he hits me here, they take it the other way, have a 3-on-2 maybe. I don't know. It's you have to make risks to make plays sometimes, but I really felt confident that this move was going to work. Again, looking at this freeze frame, I'm not really sure why I was confident because it looks like this guy's going to crush me, but it ended up working. So, sometimes you got to take those risks, I guess, but it's all about just having faith in yourself, having confidence, and not being afraid to turn it over or whatever. And also, again, real quick, I just kept looking here. I make a really bad play, but it's a good example of exactly what not to do. So you make this straight line to try and beat him to the net, which is exactly what I was expecting you to do. I pull back to the outside because there's room here. I'm holding up, looking to get the pass over to you, and that guy, I don't think he was trying to cut you off here. I think he was trying to go for me and just ended up getting in your way. So kind of unlucky in that he made a bad play that actually worked out well defensively. But you end up getting caught on that guy and can't get around him. I thought you were going to get around him, so I went for the pass back, but just a bad play. I was expecting, I had that play. That's an example where I had the play in my head, and then it got taken away, and I went for it anyway, and it was just, wasn't good. Like, you're still between this guy. What I should have done here, you're still between this guy and me, so you're acting as like a buffer. I probably could have cut into the middle here. This guy's back checking hard, so I maybe could have like just gone up the wing here since you're kind of here protecting me from him a little bit. But I also could have just turned back and done like a little L2 and X or something to get behind this guy. And then there's just open ice over here. I could get it over to dead for like one-timer or something. But just a lot I could have done with that play. But I pointed out as just an example of like, you don't want to get to like, oh, this is the play that I'm going to make, and once I lock onto that, I can't do anything else. Like here, obviously, I've already decided, like, I'm making that pass, and you're not around him, so it's not going to work. But, so you just can't get too caught up on, like, what you want to do. You have to take it. You have to see the game ahead of time, and you also have to be able to react and take what's available. And if they take away the thing that you're expecting to do and that you want to make happen, then you have to adjust and be ready to do something else on a moment's notice, because that's the way the game works. It's changing constantly. You have to always be, ready for the unexpected to happen, basically. Okay, all right. So I'm stopping here because coming up is the play that I was talking about, where I'll let it play out and we can, talk about it then. But I just wanted to say that this coming up is the play that I was talking about. Okay, so I ended up turning it over there, but basically, you guys end up going offside when I made that little cut into the middle. So basically what happened was these two guys, I'm coming up the wing. These two guys are kind of like angling over this direction. So what's going to happen is if I skate across the line here, it kind of looks like I have room, but these two guys are both angling over to here. So what's going to happen is I can't get to the outside because the defenseman's going to cut that off. I can't like hold up or cut to the inside because this guy's going to be right on top of me. And between the two of them, the chances of being able to like force a pass through into the middle to get it to you, which would be great because you would have some room here and then you'd have Patrick supporting on the other side. But the chances of me being able to get that through with these two guys pressuring the moment I cross the line, they're going to cut me off probably right inside like this area. And that's really the struggle here, is like this kind of area right here where when you're getting across the line, you have to recognize when they're in position to kind of cut you off in this area, because you're just not going to be able to do anything. You're going to have to hold up here just inside the line, which means you're not going to have any room to go back with it. If you try to force it down along the boards, this guy's probably going to be back to cut it off behind the net, so I'm not going to be able to get it around to you or to Patrick. So it's just one of those things where if I cross the line here, I'm already recognizing that I'm just going to be totally cut off and I'm not going to have anywhere to go. So I recognize that. I make a cut into the middle, and Patrick actually cut well across the line. He did step offside for a moment, but he actually did a pretty good job holding it. You kind of flew in and went a few steps across the line because you're obviously we're not expecting this. But this is one of those things where I say, like, you just have to kind of read the game and recognize what's happening, because these guys were totally cutting me off and I couldn't get in, and nothing was going to happen if I tried to force my way up the wing here. So I cut into the middle, and it actually works because it pushes them back, gets me a little room. I'm able to cross the line. I end up turning it over because I make a behind the back pass that like hits the guy in the leg or whatever, which is kind of unlucky. But this, I think, was like the play that I needed to make here. And I think ideally I probably would have cut into the middle and gone right in, but I was not planning to do that because I knew that you guys were going to go offside here. As soon, like, I was kind of already in my head basically by the time I crossed the red line, I knew it was going to happen. I knew these guys were angling me off over here. I knew I was going to cut into the middle. I knew one or both of you would probably go offside, and so I was going to need to delay a little bit and then drag it in, which ultimately is what I did. But this is just one of those things, I think, where it's important to recognize the blend. Another thing here, though, is when you Patrick does a good job of like skirting the line and kind of maintaining his like positioning, his momentum a bit. You kind of came back and like looped back around. I guess you were going for like a full reset, but I kind of recognized that I had a little bit of room to try and get in here. Maybe going in at this point was not the right decision. I don't know, but it almost worked because I was able to carry it over here and try to hit Patrick. Got a little unlucky that it hit the guy's skate instead, which, that's kind of just what happens when you play the zero pingers. They get bounces, but even if they weren't zero ping, they probably would have gotten that because it wasn't a great pass. Yeah, they're kind of both converged onto me. I think what I could have got, they didn't try to hit me, so what I could have probably gotten away with here is doing like an L2 to turn and protect the puck, and then I could have gone for like just a turned around pass and hand it off to Patrick, and then he's got all this room over here. He's got you in the middle. He's got options, right? There is this guy back here, so it's not great, but you've got support behind you. You've got Dead over here, so there is support coming. Basically, it ends up like these guys kind of overcommitted to me to try and keep me out of the zone, and if I had made a little bit better play here, I would have been able to get it to Patrick, and then you basically would have had like a 4-on-3. But yeah, so I didn't execute great on that one. It didn't work out. But it's just, this is an example of like when I talk about reading the play, like I'm already telling from this moment here, I'm like, I know I'm not getting, because I don't have the speed to beat this guy. Maybe if I had like 95 speed, maybe I could like self-sauce it off the boards and try and just burn this guy. But defenders are pretty fast a lot of the time. Like especially these like zero ping teams, they always seem to know like these meta builds that just have like all the size and all the speed that you could possibly ever want. So it's just going to be really tough to burn this guy. But so I'm already recognizing like I'm just getting angled into the boards here. I'm barely going to make it across the line. I'm not going to have anywhere to go. So I need to make something happen. I recognize this guy's going with the defenseman to angle me into the boards, so I cut into the middle. And whoops, skipped back too far. Okay, I skipped around a little bit there and screwed it up. But anyway, point is, I recognized that these guys were angling me off. I made the cut into the middle, and it's just one of those things where I think you have to recognize the play, where it's like those guys are totally cutting me off. I need to go somewhere else. I actually could have dropped it back over here, but the reason I didn't do that, I think, is actually because I knew that you guys were going to go offside. I think if you guys hold the line here, I can probably just toss it back to him, and he's got the speed coming up behind me. I can throw it to him, and he just skates it in. But I held it because I figured you guys were going offside, and you guys went offside. But it's another one of those things where it's just like, it's just you have to hit the blue line. And I think the thing to me is like if I hit the blue line and I don't have the puck, or the puck is not already like going into the zone, I just stop. It's not, you obviously lose your momentum when you do that, but like you're not getting anywhere if you go offside, right? Like you have to stay onside. So if I hit the blue line and the play is not going to be onside, I just stop. That's totally a thing that you can just do. And it's maybe not ideal. Maybe you want to like try and cut across and keep your momentum, but sometimes you just have to stop. But yeah, just teams like this, it's always going to be tough to get across the blue line, and it's you have to think about where am I going to go after I cross the blue line, because it's not just about getting into the zone. You have to think about, okay, I get into the zone, but where am I going to go? Do I have any options? Where am I going to go? Because at this point, I could see those guys were angling me off. I probably don't even get as far as this referee here before they have completely cut me off on the boards. And then there's no room for anybody to support behind me because I'm right up against the line. and I can't get it around the boards because this guy is going to be over here in this area, probably trying to cut that off. So I really just don't have any options. So I have to try and cut into the middle and create something. And I think the ideal play, like looking at it stopped here, the ideal play is to go to him. But because I had figured this might put you guys offside, I carried it and waited to kind of delay and get into the zone. But I think ideally, like if you guys can hold the line here, I can give it to him and bang, he just skates right in. And then I can drop back easily and take his spot, and then he has both of you guys going to the net. I think that's probably the ideal play. But yeah, this is the play that I wanted to talk about, just because it's a great example of how important it is, and how difficult it is to kind of gain the blue line, but also why it's so important to, think the game ahead. It's like chess, right? You have to be thinking like, oh, what am I going to do? At this point, what am I going to do when he does this? What am I going to do? You have to be the best chess players in the world are the ones who are seeing the game like, 4, 5, 6, 10 steps ahead. They know exactly how it's going to play out. And even when it doesn't play out necessarily the way they expect, they're ready to adapt. So it's kind of like, a little bit of a weird analogy to draw, like, compare hockey to chess, but it, I think, really works here, and it just shows the importance of, you do have to see the game well. I don't think I'm like tremendously skilled, but I think that's something that I do well, and I think that that's something that can just tremendously improve your impact when you're able to see kind of how things are developing and recognize what's going to happen before it happens, because 9 out of 10 wingers skate this into the zone here, and they're just getting cut off. They have nowhere to go, and then it's just a turnover and it's going the other way. So you just have to. Teams like this aren't going to let you straight line into the zone usually. It's not going to happen. You have to be creative. You have to find the seams, and you just have to try and make plays where you can and see what's going to happen before it happens, and you just have to be ready for it and adapt. So it's just comes back, that blue line awareness is a big deal, and it's just something to work on and something to keep in mind. But anyway, we've spent enough time on this one. I'll move on now. Okay, I'm just going to do a little quick aside here. You're going to try and hit Patrick on the breakout. This guy, I believe, comes in and reads it and picks off the pass. What I like to do in a lot of these is if you're far enough off the boards that the guy isn't going to be able to like easily reach to the boards with his stick, as he will be here, he's going to pick it off like right in this area, I think. But what you can do is like just throw a bank pass. So you kind of skate in here, right here. You try and go directly ahead to Patrick. What you could do in this situation is, because you're like right along the boards, you could just like slide it up the boards a little bit slower so that he can skate into it right around this area. But what I'd probably do is I'd come off the boards a little bit and maybe even pull the puck to my backhand to create a little bit more separation between, your hand, the puck, and the boards. And then just bank it off. Like throw a pass off. You can throw a saucer pass off, or you can even just do a backhand shot. What you don't want to do is hold R1 and backhand it, because then the puck's probably going out of play and it's a penalty. I rarely hold R1 to shoot from my own zone, just because you never know when EA is going to do something stupid and then put it over the glass. But yeah, I definitely think you could just like pull this backhand, do a regular pass, bank it off the boards, and then he can skate into it right around here, and he should be golden once that happens. But yeah, definitely look for opportunities for the bank pass, because there are times where I'll be over on the left and you'll come up on the left, like up here, to support me, and there will be a guy in the way and I just bank it around him. So that is actually like, not a lot of people do that, I feel, but can be really helpful. Anyway, moving on. Okay, here's a great example. Actually, let me go back a little bit further if I can. Yes, I can. So Dead gets it to you. Patrick's totally covered here. He's got nowhere. I mean, there's nothing he can do. He's basically just going to have to try and cut into the middle, which is eventually what he does do. These guys are in the middle. I'm on the far side, so there's no way that you're going to be able to get it to me. You do have a little bit of room in the middle here, but ultimately what you're going to do is you're just going to like take the space that you have. Patrick stays on side. We see. Good job. He never even crossed the line. That's what I like to see. He never crossed the line at all. He hit the line and he turned. And that's just another perfect example of like what I want to see with like the blue line awareness stuff, where you don't even go into the zone. You're at no point are you ever offside, because even though like in this situation, if he had gone into the zone a little bit, it wouldn't have changed anything probably. But it's just good to not go offside, because you never know when it's going to like screw things up, or when somebody sees the offside and panics and has to slow down, thinks they have to slow down when really it's fine because he's about to retouch anyway. But yeah, it's just good to see, he cuts across the line. He never goes in. He never goes in ahead of the puck. He stays on side the entire time. And because he pushes into the middle here, they try to stay with him a little bit. It gets you just a little bit of room, and I love what you do here. You don't have much. They're converging on you. There really isn't a whole lot you can do here, but you don't panic. You make a little move, spin off of them, and then you end up kind of, making a little bit of a backhand pass. Doesn't work out. This was tough because if you'd gone forehand here, if you'd gone fully forehand here, it would have brought it out and it would have been offside. I think you kind of make this pass a little early. I think you could have more completed this turn. You actually could have done a half turn and gone back to the outside, because this guy just kind of blows past you. There's definitely a lot of situations in this game where they should have been hitting, but they didn't. So, but yeah, they didn't hit you here, so they kind of give you room. You make this pass a little early, I think. I think you could have more fully completed the turn. But I think this pass probably works out better, actually. If you have, this is a pass where, actually, this is the reason in 22 where I ran third eye a lot of the time, is because of these like half turn, like behind the back passes that you do, like even short passes. Because if you don't have third eye, it's like really slow and inaccurate and bad, and that's unfortunately what happens here off of a really nice play that you made to get into the zone. But yeah, third eye can help with that. But if you don't have third eye, I think just like let yourself turn just a little bit more, so that you can kind of like hold it out to the forehand and charge it up a little bit, and then try to send it directly to him. And I think that probably would have worked. But again, also you probably could have just like done a half turn and cut back into this area. You could have slipped between them, and then even rolled it around the boards or something like that afterwards. But yeah, I wanted to point this out because I really it was a great zone entry by you. Great patience, great confidence with the puck. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but like to see it. Okay, minor. I think this is the last thing I'll say before the end of the period. I've had a lot to say on this first period, apparently. I didn't expect it to go like this. But Patrick's going to give it to you in the zone here. And it's tough. I think actually what I would have done right here is I would have slowed down and like L2'd a little bit, just to kind of turn around and protect the puck from these two guys. And then I would have just handed it over to Teal as he's about to enter the zone. He's actually been doing a very good job. Like this guy's pretty good. He's done a good job like supporting and crossing the blue line quickly to make sure that he's there as another option. But yeah, probably what I would have done at this point is L2 a bit to turn and protect the puck from these two guys, and just turn and hand it back to him, and he's going to have some room to drive the net or get it to me, or we can do like a give and go or whatever. But obviously they're really guarding this side. They're guarding the two of you right here. So if you slow things down and make a pass over to him, probably what's going to happen is this guy's going to pressure you to try and get the puck out of the zone. But this is a really relatively safe play here. Like you have enough time and space here to just quick turn around with L2 and slide it over to him, and he crosses the zone, and then it should be 2-on-2 at worst. Maybe even kind of like a 2-on-1, as this guy might be a little too slow to get back into play, because I really think he's going to pressure you here. But yeah, we've got plenty of room over here, so if you do that, that's great. It's not what you did, but that guy made a terrible poke, and now you're around him. You have burned this guy, and we've essentially now, Patrick is in a position where he's blocking these two. You burned this guy. So we basically have a 2-on-1 going to the net now, and you cut back to the outside. That was tough. even still here, you could have passed it into the middle, and I think what I would have done here is if you did that is I would have try to go this direction and then hope that Teal comes in behind me, which I think he would have, and then try to go back to him for a one-timer in like this area. But that was rough because now what you've done here is Patrick's basically holding these two guys on this side, and you cut back over to this side. So now you're behind them. Like you've put them back in the play where you already had them burned. So we basically had a 2-on-1 down low, and you kind of cut back to the outside and put them right back in the play. So what I want to see here is you go, even if you don't pass, you don't have to pass it. You could have, I think, because I was open. This guy wasn't in a position where he was like close enough to contest like he wasn't close enough to like knock the puck away from me the moment I got it or anything like that. So I had time to do something with it if you had passed it, but you didn't need to pass it. You could have just skated it up, shot it, whatever. You had room up here. This guy's kind of getting around Patrick, so he might have been a little bit of an issue. But then again, you can just send it over to me. I can send it back. I can send it to Teal. There's plenty of options here. But because you kind of cut back to the outside, like I feel like you were kind of in this mindset that you were just expecting the middle to not be there, but then it was. And that just kind of, again, goes back to what I said before. You just have to be adaptable, recognize what's going to happen. I mean, it's understandable to not expect the middle to just open up very often, but in this case it did, and you had a lane to kind of take it here, and you cut back to the outside and kind of put these guys right back into play, and I think ultimately it ended up we lost possession here. Yeah, it was turnover. But yeah, again, something to think about. You had that middle, cut back to the outside, and you put those guys who were basically burned and just put them right back in the play. Okay, I lied. One last thing. I remember this, and I'm glad I found it because this is another thing that I was hoping I'd get to talk about. I didn't realize it was actually this game. But yeah, you make a nice play to get it over to me, gain the zone. You hold the line here, which is good. Great. He was actually perfect hold of the line. Both of you were able to drag the legs so that you were able to kind of get a little extra speed and stay ahead of like this guy in particular. And because of that, like I don't know I have no idea what this guy's doing. I have no idea why he ran all the way over here to get to me. He basically gave you and Patrick a 2-on-1 down low here, which is what happens as I send it over, but this guy gets in position to kind of contest Patrick, and I think this has to be a shot here. This is the last thing I wanted to say about this period. I think you passed it expecting that he would be able to continue driving the net, but he had to hold up a little bit here because this guy would beat him there and was contesting that, and it was really well covered. And you have to expect that these zero ping guys, you're not going to be able to force passes on them most of the time. So I think what you could have done here is this goalie, you have room to just shoot this. This guy's coming in to try and poke you, so you have to be quick, but you have room to get a shot here. He's holding the short side pretty well, but I think you might be able to just go 5-hole on him. Like, he never went... The puck was really close. Like, when the puck's this close, you generally want to go down at that point, but he never did, so you probably had a chance to beat him 5-hole. This game is definitely iffy about the 5 holes. Like, they should work, and a lot of times don't, but this is one where I think you can just shoot that 5-hole, and even if it doesn't work, Patrick's still here. There's a rebound he could potentially get. So just another thing to keep in mind. Low shots are good. You can get rebounds, but here I think you could have potentially beat him clean if you had shot that 5-hole. Okay, so I do see one like minor thing here, and I'm gonna point this out because it's actually something that I really want to do myself more. That I want to kind of incorporate this more into my muscle memory, so that it just becomes more of like a reflex that like, oh, just do this. But it's a spin pass. So I'm sure you know what I mean by that. Just like do a legitimate like spinorama, one way or the other. I don't know if you know this, but there's like a lot of people do the like the double tap L2 spin, where automatically you'll just spin basically like clockwise from your forehand if you're right-handed anyway, which you are obviously. If you're left-handed, I guess it would be like counterclockwise, but that's not how you really spin. You can spin either direction, what you do is you hold L2 and you put the right stick out to whichever side, either the forehand or the backhand, and then you roll it down around to the other side, basically. So if you wanted to do like the regular, like right-handed, like pucks, stick is on your forehand, spin around clockwise spin. You can double tap L2 to do that, but you can also hold L2, right stick out to the right, so like 3 o'clock, roll it down around from 6 o'clock to over to 9 o'clock. And it's the same thing if you do it the other way around too. You'll spin the opposite directions. You'll spin you'll have the puck on your backhand and you'll spin around counterclockwise. So you would go from 9 o'clock down to 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So that's how I spin, because you always control the direction that you go with it. So we're going to play this ahead here, and you're going to get a situation where I have some room, especially this guy peels off. He makes a bad turn, and I get some room in the middle here. And actually, what you might be able to get away with just forcing this pass to Patrick right away. But what you end up doing is you try to hit me in the middle with room, which I think is a nice play. But this guy kind of gets in the way of your forehand. So when you pass it, it hits his skate and bounces away. What you can do here is do the backhand to forehand spins. You're going to pull the stick over here, wrap it around to this side like this while holding L2, and you're going to spin, and mid-spin you can pass it, because what's going to happen is you're going to pull the puck over here, which protects it from this guy poking it. You're going to spin this way, and on the back end of the spin, when the puck is about here, you're going to pass it to me, and that changes the angle so that this guy isn't going to be able to get it, and it's going to go to me. It's something that I think is really strong, actually, and something that I want to incorporate more into my game, because it's so good at protecting the puck while changing the angle to make a pass that, it's a lot harder to block that pass when you're thinking, I'm blocking the pass from this angle, and now all of a sudden the puck's over here and coming from this angle, and it'll catch them off guard, and I think the pass absolutely works if you do that. So that's definitely something to try to work into your game in the future, because it's something I want to work on too. I think it's really strong. All right, we're coming up on what I assume will be the last play of the period here. So you get it ahead to me. I get in that situation, fire it at the net. We end up scoring a goal there because Patrick drove the net really well. But this is something I really want to point. Oh, didn't go back far enough. Something I really want to point out, because I think that Patrick's I'm going to cut to the outside. Patrick recognizes that and just drives the net to give me room to cut over here where there's space. Could pass by you to get it up. We gain the zone. But this guy pressures me. I mean, if he doesn't pressure me, maybe I carry it up and try to make a play or something. But because this guy pressures me, and Patrick, I can already see that he's kind of got this step to go this direction and kind of go wide on this guy to try and he's kind of gliding back and just kind of standing straight. Patrick's already moving this way, trying to beat this guy to the outside. Obviously, no way I'm going to be able to pass it to him through all of this mess, but I recognize that, hey, goalie's here covering my shot. I'm not going to score from here. This guy's pressuring me. Not a whole lot I can do. Dead's behind me. I can try to get it to him, but he's a little late getting to the blue line, I think. But I have to pass it right now before this guy gets to me. So it could potentially be offside if I pass it back now. But I'm just looking at this and I'm saying, hey, here's an opportunity to try and get Gracie. Patrick's going to the net. I'm just going to throw it on. And bang, there it is. Throw it low off the pad. Patrick's there and he gets it. And I just want to point that out, because that's an example of hey, when you've got, it's never a bad idea to get the puck to the net. And that's why I like the shooting mentality. You can't score if you don't shoot, obviously. But, if you don't have anything else, that's especially a time where you just want to throw the puck at the net. Because, and then I end up making a bad turnover there and they score, and it goes away immediately. Which, that whole play in and of itself felt ridiculous. I should have, It was a bad turnover by me to even start it. Good save there. I go behind the net. And here, pretty sure I was already holding the protect puck thing there, but he ends up getting like a poke check that's perfect and steals it away, breaks his hand, gets it to this guy perfectly, and then he's able to like kick it back to himself and just backhand it through everyone, like right by the goalie to this guy who's just on the back door. It was kind of ridiculous. What I should have done is I should have forehanded it immediately and just shot it up the boards. Yeah. Unfortunate, really bad turnover at the neutral zone. That was the worst part of it, really. But in any case, the previous goal was the point I wanted to make about just, get it to the net. If you see that there's if you see that there's guys driving the net and you don't think that you can get that pass through, just throw it low. Because, this game is weird with its rebounds, and a lot of the time it will just pop right out to the guy. So there's no reason not to do it. Okay, coming up here again, another play. I get the puck here. Look at this. So you drive to the outside. This guy follows you. This guy tries to hold up and poke me. I get around him, and now I have all this room. Look at all this room in front of me. And this guy stays with you, and this guy stays with Patrick. And I don't know what this guy kind of stayed with Patrick also. Nobody pressured me. They let me just walk in. So I'm like, okay, I walked it to like right around this area and just shoot. Like, if they give that to you, take it. Don't try to they're heavily covering the passes here. Don't try to force passes in those situations. Just take that shot. This is a gift. Letting me walk directly into the hash marks, that is a gift. And if I did a better job shooting this, I probably could have scored because there was room on this side, but I didn't take a great angle. The goalie wasn't aggressive enough, but it was, he should have been more aggressive, but I guess it was aggressive enough. He is kind of at the line here. But I kind of took a weak, weird angled shot. Didn't really work out. I probably could have done a little bit of a toe drag just to kind of try and change the angle up a little bit and then try to pick the corner here. But playing on the power forward that doesn't have great shooting stats, if I was a sniper, maybe I could score that. But in any case, this is a tough team to play against. They have zero ping. They get every poke. They pick up every pass. There's no reason here to try and force a pass through or to try and walk in any closer than they let me. I recognize how much room I have. I take it. I get to about the hash marks before they turn and start to, poke me or knock it away. I know at this point, you're open here. Patrick, I guess, isn't really, this guy's kind of still in the way, but you're open here. I can try and pass it to you, but between this guy poking at it and this guy coming in on the back end, it's probably just, they have zero ping. It's probably going to get knocked down somehow. So I just walk in and take the shot. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely look for opportunities to do that because, you'll score on those. And maybe even what I could have done there is I didn't have a great angle, but maybe I could have shot it low and it could have bounced over here to you. Maybe even try to bounce it over to Patrick, although this guy probably would have picked it up. But yeah, absolutely look for those opportunities to shoot, and don't pass up a good chance just because you're trying to make it a perfect chance or something like that. Absolutely, especially against these teams that are going to land every poke and pick up every puck. There's just no reason to make a risk that ultimately is just going to be a turnover. It's it's not going to work on these guys. They're going to pick it up. All right, this game's kind of progressing, and it's about to end with our goalie quitting here. So this will probably be the last thing I have to say about this game, because I think a lot of the third period was just mostly just kind of standard stuff, not really anything wrong. We're trying to make plays, not working out great, but they're just tough to play against. But it was a pretty solid third period, but this is probably the last thing I'm going to say about it. Nice pass there by Patrick. It got a little room cut into the middle. He kind of ends up bumping into me, but here again, and this is why I was talking about earlier, where Patrick, you had the puck over here and Patrick was at the blue line and cut across but never entered the zone. This is where that kind of thing is really important, where you just a little bit you cross the blue line, but because of that, I had some room here to skate it in, and I had to turn back because you had crossed the blue line. Yeah, if you're able to cut across the blue line there, we can get in right here. But I'm like, okay, I recognize you're in the zone. I'm not taking it offside. We can keep possession here. Turn it back. Patrick then goes offside. And now you guys have both gone this way. This guy's chasing Patrick over here, and suddenly the middle kind of opens up a little bit. So, and this guy overcommits into the middle, thinking I was going that way, so he cuts across and runs into his own guy for some reason. And now all this room opens up here. Patrick now is across the line, and he's able to get around that guy because he sees the room that I have here, cuts over to try and take it away from me, but now Patrick is open to the outside, so I'm going to hit him. And there we are. He's got room. We're into the zone. So it's just, firstly, blue line awareness. Make sure that you're not crossing the line. Make sure that if you hit that line, you're turning, keeping your momentum, or stopping if you have to. Just don't cross the line. Don't be offside. Like I said earlier, the thing with Patrick cutting across the line and making sure he never went offside, even when you were back here with the puck, and it didn't really matter if he had gone offside a little bit because the puck was way back here. But he still just crossed the line, never went into the zone. That's what you got to do here, because this is the situation where it matters, where you're just like half a blade length over the line, and that's all that matters. It stops me from being able to skate into the zone, but you have to have a little bit of that poise, have a little bit of that confidence. Just say, all right, not taking it in, going to turn back, going to look for something. This guy makes a bad play and overcommits to this side of the ice. This side of the ice opens up. I see that. I cut back against the grain. You kind of use that right stick to kind of shift my body and protect the puck and change my momentum a little bit to push away from this guy as he's turning back to try and take that space away now. And now he goes a poke at me. I know he's got 0 ping, so he's gonna, if I can't mess around here. I have to be really careful. Patrick's got some room though, so I hit him and bang. Now these guys have overcommitted to me, and he's got all this room on the outside. So, this is probably the last thing I'll look at this video, I imagine. But it's all about blue line awareness and just having poise with the puck and being patient and finding a way to get into the zone, because against teams like this, it's going to be hard to do. But it's step one to creating an offense. You have to scratch and claw for every inch against teams like this. Teams that know how to play, they know how to trap, and on top of that, they're like playing on 5 ping or whatever. Like they're gonna get the game, they're gonna get the bounces, they're gonna get the pokes, they're gonna get the pickups. You have to really be on your toes, and we did play a good game against these guys, but that's also, I think, why this is such a good game to look at for a review, because this is a game where we played against a tough team. We played them really well. It felt like we outplayed them overall, but if you just kind of clean up on some of these little things and can take small lessons here and there, I think you can improve from playing with these guys to now suddenly we're able to actually put up goals and win against these guys, which is just would be a tremendous win, because guys like this, guys that know how to play are always going to be tough to beat, because every game is going to be like this. You have to scratch and claw. Just gaining the blue line is a chore, but on top of that, when they have that low ping, it just becomes an almost impossible affair. So you just have to make sure everything is so clean and that you're so poised and that you're taking every opportunity that you have. I think I had some opportunities in this game to score that I didn't score on, but we played with these guys, and I think that this is a good game because just you take some of these lessons away, you improve on some of these things, you learn what to do in these situations, and you can turn a game like this from a close game into an actual win. And there's really nothing better than beating teams like this, especially when they have that super low ping. So yeah. And actually, just one last small note. This is just before the goalie rage quits and we lose, but Teal, he was playing really well. He was really solid, but makes kind of a catastrophic mistake that costs us the game here. He I think he sees you open on the back door and tries to force that through, but I mean, this is, maybe on guys who are even ping with us, you can try and force that through, but 0 ping guys, it's never going to happen. He tries to force this just through a wall of green. It doesn't work. They take it the other way and they score and the game's over. But this is another example of get the puck to the net. not a lot of time in the game. You have to scratch and claw for everything. Teams like this, you're not going to be able to get those pretty plays. You have to just grind it out and try to get goals however you can. So this is an opportunity where if you're him in this situation, make sure you're not trying to force this pass through. You can even, if you want, he had room to try and carry this around to the outside. I doubt that he would have been able to get all the way around here and force it in front before they got back and covered it. But even so, you can try and skate to the outside, maybe take a weird angle shot and hope that something happens. You can try shoot for a rebound here. This mess in front made it a little bit hard to do that, but I still think you probably could have tried to shoot from here and you maybe could have slipped it through, and then we've got two guys wide open over here, so it's maybe worth the risk. But the pass was just, there was no way that's going to happen. It was just a catastrophically bad mistake, unfortunately, but it's, fortunately, it is a good example of why, hey, just get the puck to the net. Maybe it gets blocked here, but if it gets blocked here, it's not as bad as just passing it directly into this guy and him taking it and then scoring. Because if it gets blocked here, he can pick it back up. Patrick could potentially pick it up. Yeah, you never know. But yeah, just passing it across here, another just good example of why don't force passes. Take shots if you have them. Hang on to the puck if you have to. Maybe skate around. He could have even tried to drop it back to Dead, and Dead could have gone over to you or just shot it, try to get through this traffic, go for a tip. There's a lot of other options here. Didn't need to be a forced pass. And it's just, obviously this wasn't you, but I'm looking at this as an example of, hey, you can be patient with the puck. You can do more than just try to panic and rush a pass through. You can, try to set up possession, whatever it takes. You don't have to try and force passes through because you see, it looks like this guy's open, but hey, here's a wall of guys that are going to block it. But yeah, this is the game ends after this, so that's the last thing I have to say about this one. But yeah, thank you for watching. A lot, obviously, to say about the first period, less to say about the other two periods. I don't know why that happened exactly, but I did have a lot to say about that first period. But it was a good game. And I hope you're able to take something away from this. I hope that this helps. But yeah, definitely still a lot that I have to improve on, a lot that I can do. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.